Hi guys, this is Vidas. Welcome to another training. Today, Learn Vidas session will feature a continuation of our harmony trainings, open and closed position chords. But our Total Organist member Don requested a tutorial where we could discuss how to switch from open to closed position chords, or vice versa, from closed position chords to open, right, in the same exercise, in the same tune, basically. What we are going to talk is actually how to make leaps between the chords, major and minor chords, and 6 chords inversions, right, and the dominant chords, dominant 7th chords and their inversions, because when you make a leap within some of the voices, then you switch between open and closed position, or between closed position and open position. Does it make sense? So welcome Don in the live chat. Who else is here? Say hello. And let's take a look at some registration that we need to make. Let's see, a monitor maybe would be nice on Goch sample set. Maybe, yeah, maybe octave. Yeah, 8 and 4 principles. If we'll need principles 8 and 16, violon bass, foundation in the bass. I'll add, but primarily I think we'll feature manual training today, manuals. All right, so who else is here? Sean, hello, nice to see you in the live chat. So let's now briefly recap what is open position, what is closed position. So closed position is when we have chords, major or minor chords, or any other chords, where the distance between 3 upper voices, between soprano and alto, between alto and tenor, is not more than perfect 4. That's closed position, like this. Right? This distance is minor third and perfect 4. So therefore we have, maybe a little too loud, don't you think? Right here. So that's closed position. Another closed position, a third on the top. Another closed position, a fifth on the top, like this, right? And the same is for minor chords. Closed position, closed position, closed position. But open position, it's when we have more than perfect fourth between soprano and alto, alto and tenor. In this case, we have minor 6 in this between soprano and alto, and major 6 between alto and tenor. Major 6, minor 6, major 6, minor 6. Does it make sense? So perfect fifth is fine right here. That's open position. Perfect fifth, minor 6, right? In minor keys. It's the same thing, more than perfect 4. There is also a mixed position, by the way, I haven't mentioned it before, when one of the intervals is perfect 4, or a smaller interval, but another interval is more than perfect 4, like a 5th or a 6th. In this case, it's usually a first inversion chords, for example, like this. Tonic 6 chord between between alto and tenor it's perfect fifth, but between alto and soprano it's perfect fourth. So it's not open position, not closed position, but mixed position. Right? Or, for example, E, C, G, G with unison between soprano and alto. And unison is of course a sign for the closed position, but still we have a perfect fifth between tenor and alto. So in general, in this chord we have mixed position. And there are other examples, but we don't have to go into much detail for this because it's just a recap, right? So far so good. Anything you want to add, guys, in the live chat? Please give me some feedback, of course. Thank you so much, Don, for your support, for the coffee. That's very much appreciated, even before the session started. That's very, very nice. So basically now, today, what we're going to do is how to switch. Let me show you the keyboard. From closed position to open position. And I already did. That's one of the ways to do it. Basically, if you have the same root position chord, it's like C major triad, right? C major tonic, Roman numeral 1, right? So we can make a jump between some voices, and instead of this is closed position, we could end up this, right? Connecting two chords, closed position, open position. This is what happens. Basically, G tenor stays in place, but alto and tenor, C and E, switch places. E and C, right? They become not major third, but minor sixth. They switch places. So we had closed position and now open position, right? Another example, for example, would be, let's say, this one, right? A root on the top, C, right? Closed position. G stays in place, but the outer voices, tenor and soprano, switch places and become from closed position to open position. Does it make sense? That's how you do it, right? All kinds of variations there are. So basically, the thing that you have to look for is which voice is stationary. Any voice can be stationary, except, of course, the bass doesn't matter now, because we're just connecting the same, repeating the same chord, tonic and tonic, but switching open to closed position and vice versa. So you have to just decide which of the three upper voices will be stationary. Imagine, so if soprano C is stationary, then the next variation is this: closed position, open position. If the alto is stationary, then this will become G is stationary, E and C switch places. If the alto, if the tenor is stationary, right, it is E, then G and C switch places. Right? That's how you do it. And vice versa, for example. Or and vice versa, right? So that's how you repeat the same color chords, chords of the same functionality, tonic and tonic, subdominant and subdominant, dominant and dominant, and you can do it a few times, not only once. Now, a little more difficult thing is when you switch positions from one function to another, from tonic to dominant, right? Or from dominant to tonic, or from subdominant to tonic. Let's say from tonic to dominant. Imagine there is only one rule that is applied here. This is a leap of the third. Let me explain. A leap of the third when connecting two chords which are major, perfect fourth or perfect fifth apart. Tonic, dominant, dominant, tonic, tonic, subdominant, subdominant, tonic. They are chords perfect fourth or perfect fifth apart. And we have to apply the rule of the leap of the third. Here we go. So, in soprano, this rule, this leap has to be either in soprano or in tenor. And here in the soprano, we have the third or the E, right? That's the third of C major chord. E is the third. E, right? Normally, harmonic connection would be this: tonic dominant, G is stationary, two upper voices go in stepwise motion, and the root of one chord goes to the root of another chord, C to G. That's how we do it, back and forth. Melodically, if you want to connect, moving all of the voices, bass goes downward, and three upper voices go upward. But still, it's still closed position, closed position, closed position. All the voices are moving opposite direction. Bass goes down. All the other voices go upward, opposite direction than the bass. Right? But if we want to have a connection between closed position and open position, we apply the leap of the third. The third in the soprano would leap to a third of the other chord in soprano, like this. G remains the same, is repeated in the tenor. C goes to G in the bass, and in the alto, D goes to the closest chordal note of the next chord, which is E. But we have a switch from closed position to open position. Does it make sense? Let me know. That's the leap of the third. Now, if we want to have a leap in the tenor, in the alto there is no leap, right? Only tenor. Alto stays the same. Not the same, but in stepwise motion. But if we want to do in the alto, then then the first chord has to go, it has to be in the open position, like this. What we have here, tonic in the open position and the dominant in the closed position. G, common note between two chords, stays the same, is repeated. The third of one chord, E, jumps to the third of another chord, B, that's the tenor voice, and the alto goes stepwise to the closest chordal note of the next chord, D, C to D. And the bass goes to another bass, from root to root. Right. That's how you do it, basically. In root position chords, which are perfect 4/5 apart. Let's say subdominant and tonic, yeah? F major chord and C major chord in C major key. Let me check. Let me show you. That's root third of one chord in soprano. A jumps to the third of the other chord, E. Common note C stays the same, is repeated, and alto goes stepwise to the closest chordal note of the next chord, G, F to G, and the bass goes from F to C, and vice versa, like this. Tonic, subdominant, that's fine. One thing that you need to be aware of, if you do this in the minor key. Minor key, we have to be very, very careful with augmented leaps, or leaps in augmented intervals. Let me explain. Imagine we are in A minor key, right? A minor key, no accidentals, but the dominant chord has 7th raised scale degree. So this is A minor chord, which is the tonic Roman, and this is the dominant. Correct. So what we have here, we imagine we want to have the lead C to G sharp, and we just made a mistake because the distance between C and G sharp is augmented with, and augmented intervals are forbidden. Leaps for augmented intervals are forbidden. But you could do the opposite. Not this way, but if the third was in the tenor, not in the soprano, C has to be in the tenor. Maybe this way. Good. Close position chord, Roman numeral 1, A minor chord. C is the third in the tenor, and the next chord will be the dominant open position, and this is fine. Still, there is a leap of the third from C to G sharp. But what happens is the interval is reversed, and instead of augmented fifth, C to G sharp, but downward, which is diminished fourth, and this is allowed. This is fine. This only applies in minor modes because of this harmonic relationship, dominant in the harmonic mode, right? In A harmonic mode, A minor harmonic, we need to raise the G sharp and therefore have sometimes this forbidden leaf of augmented fifth, but which could be avoided if we make it a diminished fourth, right? Does it make sense? So that's with these beautiful leaps between those two chords, tonic, dominant, dominant, tonic. What about if one of the chords is root position chord, but the other chord is the first inversion chord? Then we could sometimes have leaps as well. For example, C major. With this. Imagine this is C major chord, position, tonic, right? In C major. But the next chord is open position, closed position, open position. What I did, I actually applied multiple double leaps. These are perfect fifths and perfect fifths. This normally would be forbidden if it would happen in the upper voice, soprano and alto. But since it's between the soprano and tenor and in opposite direction, it's fine. It's fine. Like this. Or let's say this is mixed positioning, correct? Tonic 6 chord, another dominant, but 6 chord, open position. G, common note G is repeated, and one note is stationary, G, and one note to the stepwise from C to G, C to D in the alto, and soprano jumps the fifth. So between root position chords, you could have the leaps of the third, but between first inversion chords and root position chords, or between first inversion chords together, you could have leaps of the octave or of the fifth, or double leaps as well, not the third. The third, by the way, of the first inversion chord is always in the bass, and it doesn't count. You cannot really double the bass in the soprano, alto, or tenor, except certain cases. So it doesn't count. But it's a very common way to jump from closed position to open position, and vice versa, to apply leaps of the octave or the fifth. Let's talk about the chords with 4 notes, dominant seventh and their inversions. Imagine dominant seventh chord, let me show you, which is in C major, from the note G. This is basically dominant seventh chord. And there is one way to do a leap if we use incomplete chord. G, B, omit D, but play F and repeat G. So what we have is root, third, seventh, and root. 2 roots, but no fifth. So at the end of the section, at the end of the musical idea, even at the end of the piece, you could apply this leap. It's called anti-parallel leaps between dominant seventh and that's what I mean. Octave, right? G, G, C, C. If it would go to the same direction, upward or downward, that would be a mistake. But since they go in the opposite direction, then it's okay. It could be downward, like this. Open position, and this is mixed position, by the way. So, mixed position and open position. No D here. Anti-parallel leaps. And another common leap is between dominant 4-2 chord and tonic 6 chord. This is the dominant 7th chord, dominant 6-5 chord, dominant 4-2 chord, and from the note F, from the 4th scale degree, there is 4-2 chord. Let's do it 1 octave lower, and this is obviously a closed position. And this is its resolution. Normally, its resolution should be this way: tonic 6 chord. F goes to E, G stays the same, B goes to C, and E goes to C. So 2 C's, 2 roots. But instead, we could have a leap from D to G, from the 5th of the chord to the 5th of the chord. And by the way, this is not open position, but mixed position here. You see, this is the 4th, a sign of the closed position. And this is perfect 5th, a sign of the open position. When 2 elements combine, that's the sign of the mixed position. Another version of the same chord. And this is what? This is closed position. G to C, that's the leap, right? Closed position. And this is mixed position. 5th of the chord. No, this is the root of the chord. Goes to the root of the chord. So it could be a 5th to the 5th, or the root to the root. That's very common. That's because, of course, this resolution chord is a 6th chord, first inversion chord. That's why there are so many leaps. And one more thing that I could teach you is 4-3 chord. Like this. I think that sometimes happens too. Normally we have the resolution this way: dominant 4-3 to tonic. But soprano can have a leap of the 3rd. And we end up with 2/3, E and E. That's kind of like an exception or less common way to connect 2 chords. but it's very beautiful also. Between dominant 6/5 and tonic, there are no leaves. There are only close harmonic progression, right? Thank you so much, guys, for your support. Appreciate it very much. Sean, virtual ticket. Matt, virtual ticket. Very appreciated. So we're kind of I already wrapping it up, but your homework, if you want to master these chords, or rewind this video and of course do watch it one or several times, and each of those steps that I taught you, each of the leaps, right, you have to try to do it in major key and in minor key, C major and A minor key. Sometimes only in minor, like avoiding augmented fifth, right? It doesn't even apply to major keys. It's only in minor keys, not major keys. But if you have normal leaps, like leaps of the third, or leaps of the fifth, or the leaps of the octave, then try to do both major and minor. And the way to internalize this is to do as many keys as you possibly can. You can write it down on the sheet of paper or notation software, but I recommend playing them on the keyboard, on the organ, or your piano or digital keyboard. I really think that playing, basically giving it a try with your fingers and even adding pedals for the bass if you want, that's even better sometimes. That actually helps your muscle memory connect with the brain and work together, and you will be like taking step towards true improvisation. This is like internalizing harmonic concepts and not writing them in on the sheet of paper or on the screen, but basically playing them in practice, and doing in as many keys as you possibly can, in ascending number of accidentals, like C major, A minor, 0 accidentals, then 1 sharp, G major, E minor, 1 flat, F major, and D minor, right? Maybe for one day that would be plenty. Another day you come back and do two accidentals, D major and B minor, and then another day two flats, B flat major and G minor, all those pairs of the parallel keys, right? And you can go on to the 3 sharps, 3 flats, 4 flats, 4 sharps. These are the most commonly used chords in hymn playing, for example. Chords with 5 sharps and flats are rare in hymn playing, in hymnals. They appear in organ repertoire, of course, but these are more advanced keys, and you need to internalize easier keys first. All right, any questions? Thanks so much, Sean, again for your ticket, and Matt as well, thank you. And Don already got me a coffee before the lesson even started. And by the way, with Don, we will continue after this training with trio sonata training. It's for our Total Organist community. And today we're starting to work on the first page of the second movement of the trio sonata number 1. Second movement, a beautiful Siciliana. So I am really excited. If you have any questions, requests, shoot me a message or an email, and I'll see you next time in either on Friday live stream on the bench with Vidas, or Sunday during one of these tutorials. And in the meantime, of course, stay tuned for our regular postings. All right, regular everyday videos, shorter videos. And thanks so much for your support again. And remember, when you practice, miracles happen.